not okay. This needs to stop now.
Hey, come back here.
I thought it was E2.
What was that?
I don't know.
Bilbo knocked the white bowl off the...
Oh, shit, I forgot how to look back at you if you try to run out. No. Fuck. It tricked me.
You know, games kind of do that sometimes. Hey, y'all. Renegades here, and it's been a little bit since we watched Scott the Woz. We know.
Scott.
Yeah, every now and again, we come across a Scott the Woz video that y'all send us, and it's just like, all right.
Have to watch it.
Let's go. Let's do it. And this one is the art of box art. And I'll say this, box art on certain games sells the game. I remember when I first saw the box art for Twisted Metal Black, I was just like, ooh, this is good.
But the glory days of box art were back in like the late 80s and early 90s. And that was usually a lie.
Yes.
Because the selling point was the badass cover art that was just so cool. It made the game look like it was the best thing you could ever play.
Like Mega Man.
And then you put it in the console and yeah, it wasn't nearly as fun. Sorry to say it.
Yeah, look at the Mega Man box art. Look at the original Mega Man box art. Like, look at this shit.
Yeah, that one kind of sucks in my opinion.
Yeah, look at that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Look at the what the.
Yeah, that was some shitty box art.
Look at it. Why does Mega Man have a gat?
Yeah.
Why does he got like a freaking like? What is that? This looks like a Glock almost.
But a lot of the times the box art was like, this is what this game could be if you just used your imagination really good. That's an example of the game being much, much better than the box art.
Yeah, I can see that. So yeah, I don't know what box art that Scott's gonna pull up. I hope that he pulls up some classics from the
Probably not the filthy box art.
Yeah, but hey, speaking of box art, all those custom boxes that I ordered up there,
Those look nice.
yeah, and the box art on the front is really good. I love those.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite box art out of all the ones that are up there, I would say Manhunt is really good.
It's a good one.
I would also say, oh man, I'd also say Metal Gear Solid 3. I love the imagery of it.
Probably Turtles in Time from what I'm able to see
Turtles
right now.
in Time is also a really good one. Star Fox also is a classic one. Secret of Mana, that one I like a lot. Oh gosh, Star Tropics. I love the artwork on Star Tropics.
Man, I need glasses. I can't see shit from here.
Yeah. Oh, Pilot Wings.
I like the 64 version of Pilot Wings better.
I do too. Well, it's an actual 3D game, whereas Pilot Wings on the SNES is masquerading as a 3D game.
Yeah, it was an
because of
attempt
Mode
at
7.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's awesome box art out there. What box art really gets y'all like going? Heck, this isn't a video game. I know this is Scott the Woz, and we usually talk about video games, but this box art right here, I mean, come on.
Pretty sick, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
And then we also have 3 of my favorite Miyazaki films. You know, Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away.
Oh, yeah.
Simple but effective, and then Princess Mononoke. Favorite Ghibli film? Fight me.
Definitely undeniably badass.
Yes, I love that. I freaking love that movie so much. And now that I've got it on Steelbook Blu-ray, I'm extremely happy. But yeah, let us know what box art really gets y'all going, and in the comments down below. I guess we're gonna look at what Scott's got to say.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Hey y'all, Scott here. I just got back from an art auction and I'm really excited to finally have such a pristine piece of art in my home. It's something people look at and say, oh shit, I just realized this is the box art for Wario World.
What's the first thing you think of when you hear Super Bust a Move? Wrong. This. Are video games art is one of the dumbest questions out there in my opinion. Of course they are. One
Yes.
video game can include millions of pieces of art in itself. 3D models, backgrounds, textures. Literally, if just one thing from a video game was smacked onto a piece of paper and hung up in an art museum, it wouldn't stick out at all. But now when all this art with musical pieces, acting, and writing is put into this one thing you can control, it's disqualified as a form of creative expression. Seriously, why is this even a debate? A fork is art, why can't arms be? Art is subjective. I personally believe anything and everything can be considered art in some way, though I don't understand why video games have had a rough history being considered it. I think it's an argument primarily made by old guys who just think video games are nothing more than Space Invaders and are just silly things people waste their lives on. I guess something like some fish painted by Andy Warhol carries more meaning behind it than Pac-Man. I mean, this was just made as a cheap joyride in a pizza parlor. This was made to be sold for lots of money to be displayed in some rich guy's living room. This is art. For those who still don't believe video games are art, I will bring up one last thing. The video game's box art. I mean, it says art right there. There's no escape from this one. Art made to advertise and represent
Secret
more
of
art.
mana.
A video game's box art is generally one of the first things I think of when the game's name is brought up. It's
Yeah.
the image that's supposed to represent
Yeah.
everything that game is and the first thing you see when picking up a game. For better or for worse. Seeing the finalized box art is one of my favorite moments with the build-up to a game's release. I love seeing how artists take everything you need to know about the game and cram it into one image. It's the picture you'll see whenever popping the case open to play how the product will look on store shelves, the main image that will forever be associated with the game. Box art doesn't seem that important at first, but it's way more crucial than you may think.
Yes.
Good box art needs to be a perfect balance between marketing, good-looking art and composition, and an accurate representation of the actual game. Atari got two of these, right? Atari 2600 has some of the most gorgeous box art ever.
Yes.
But the problem was the box looked like this, and the game looked like this.
Thank you.
Box art was too
Exactly what you were talking
That's
about.
what I was saying, dude.
Exactly what you were talking about.
good in this era. Most video game purchases were completely based off of the box art at this time. Without the internet, consumers would just walk into the store and pick the game with the most appealing name and artwork, which of course led to some hardy buyer's remorse with a lot of these
Dude,
games.
it got
In my
me all
opinion,
the
This was
time.
one of the factors of the video game crash of 1983. Low quality products were flooding the market. The fact that most of them had appealing art on the cover made people want to buy them, and when they bring it home, it made them want to swear off video games for life.
Yeah.
Activision did a pretty good job conveying what their games were like via the covers, but that also made these things crazy boring. Look at this! When Nintendo brought out the NES in 1985, they didn't want to repeat Atari and all the other video game manufacturers' mistakes. One of the key examples of this is their choice of box art with their early titles on the console. Instead of, whoa, we got, the black box NES games where Nintendo published titles that weren't trying to fool anybody, just sprite art from the game, that's it. Yeah, that was pretty boring, especially compared to what they got in Japan with the Famicom, but they thought it was necessary. There's no way you can mislead a consumer with a box like this.
Yeah.
Even though I'm
Yeah.
sure this tactic ensured nobody would buy Clue Clue Land. What the hell kind of game do you think this is?
I have
This
no
didn't last
fucking
long,
clue.
Though, as
Me
Nintendo
neither.
and all other publishers got a lot more creative with box art, and it was for the best. Sure, we were getting
Yeah.
dangerously close to Atari levels of misrepresenting the actual
This shit.
product, but the
Yeah,
NES was
that's great.
Whenever I was a kid, the first system I had when I was like 3, 4, 5 years old was an NES that my cousin had given me. And I lived above a video rental store, gas station combo type thing. And I would go down there and I would be like, oh my God, Swamp Thing, a video game. And then I'd play it and I'd be like,
This is awful.
it was just a lie. It was
Yeah.
a flat out lie.
Yeah, and we had that. I remember when I went over to my grandparents. My grandparents had an NES, and then I remember we got an NES. I forget how old I was when we got it, but then I just remember there were certain games that we played on it, and the one that I remember the most was Super Mario Brothers 3, which I had mastered. I basically had like come up with so many different runs on like how to beat it. I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And then of course SNES, which just
Again, was full of incredible box art and some shitty games.
yes,
It was like, for me, up until around the Xbox 360, PS2. Well, PS2 and Xbox 360 had some of those, like, very reliable, you can put this game in and at least play it
Yes.
you know, games. Like for the mass majority of things, they were at least playable. Dude, on the Super Nintendo, on the Sega, on the regular Nintendo, like there were so many. It was a gem to find a game that was playable.
Yeah, I remember like going at Video World, the video rental place in my hometown. It was there. There were 2 or 3. There was like Superstar Video, there was Video World, and then I forget the third one. But dude, I remember going into Video World and just trying out every different SNES game.
Yeah.
There was one that I kept playing that was a lot of fun. I loved it because of just the goofiness of it. Looney Tunes B-Ball.
Oh, yeah,
Looney
yeah.
Tunes
There were
basketball.
good Looney Tunes games. I loved the Speedy Gonzales game.
Yes.
That one was so good.
Yes.
But, like, shit you would want to be good would be terrible.
Yeah, most
Like,
of the time.
PS1 even had a ton of games that looked like they would be cool, but they
Yeah.
sucked.
Yeah. Sad but true.
Yeah.
It's far more capable of displaying graphics. Atari required you to use your imagination a lot more, and while the box art gave you a good idea as to what you should be picturing the game as sometimes they were reaching. On the NES with something like Ninja Gaiden, yeah, that looks like a ninja. Batman, yeah, that looks like a Batman. NES Open Tournament Golf, yeah, that looks like a golf. The box art looked a billion times better than the actual games, but they weren't too far off to the point where it felt like you were getting ripped off most of the time. Of course, with games in this era, we got some of the most legendary boxes of all time. Some absolutely gorgeous artwork. And some very poorly drawn ones, but hey, at least we
You were just talking
I
about
just pointed that out.
got all of these. Back then, a shield, a sword, or some magical orb was enough to tell you this is a fantasy adventure game. A lot of the NES box art could be considered either super detailed, well-painted epics, simple cartoon character front and center, or stolen assets. The original Metal
Oh, yeah, that is unfortunate. It is a 100% like stolen thing. And also, in the game, Snake looks a lot like Mel Gibson. Even at the artwork here, yeah, that's Kyle Reese from Terminator.
cover, ripped right from Terminator. Castlevania 2, this Dungeons & Dragons cover. Contra, Predator. But hey, at least these all look nice. The Sega Master System tried a unique tactic with box art. As one of Nintendo's main competitors in the 8-bit era, right when they started, they decided to give up. It's pretty obvious they were attempting something like what Nintendo did with the black box games, but instead of actual spread art from the games, they opted for clip art creators to draw one small picture and smack it on graph paper. These boxes have their charm, but for all the wrong reasons. They're not actually good, but it's such an iconic part of the Master System's image here in North America that it's somewhat endearing. And then I look at the boxes other countries got. Please, God, explain this. Box art in the early to mid-90s began to become something special. The Sega Genesis and SNES had the capability...
See, that's great box art.
Yeah.
And it's a near perfect encapsulation.
That's a fair representation of the game.
Yeah.
to display graphics even more on par with the actual cover. With these games, it's like the artist took something that happens in the game and made a piece of artwork out of it, instead of drawing what the game was meant to represent like with previous generations of box art. Not only was everything becoming better representations of the actual video game, but the art itself was becoming better and better. There was also the box art for Phalanx. Some of those iconic SNES and Genesis box art had so many little details crammed into them, while others remain simple and elegant. Sure, some of these are so cheesy it stings nowadays, but they do a good job representing the game, and it's obvious these weren't consumed by marketing strategies and were just following a template to ensure great sales. It felt like an artist was just doing what they thought would look cool. But then 3D games started to become the norm, and because of that, we reach an ugly era of box art. You just squirt a 3D model of a character that doesn't age well into a cover, and bada bing, bada boom, we have a box. Box
decent
art felt
game,
more like
though.
a screenshot rather than actual box art. Well, these were kind of cool at the time.
That's amazing, dude.
No, I love that.
I love that one.
That one captures my imagination.
Yeah, and it tells you pretty much all the fucking what the game's about.
Yeah, they chase down puzzle pieces
And
save
those
G-
dudes.
Joes, and are trying to get away from Grunty.
Yeah.
The PS1, early PS2 era of
Oh, it's doing the weird audio thing. Here, you may want to remove your headphones for just a second.
box art definitely wasn't as
Okay. Alright, it didn't do it. Thank goodness.
timeless as I'd want it to be, and really isn't my favorite. A lot of these feel cheap and tacky. You look at box art that was hand-drawn and it's gorgeous. You can feel the passion behind it. For Sonic art, let's just have 3D models of Sonic and friends running instead of the spectacular 2D art. Why? This generation wasn't terrible. There was definitely
That
some
shit's
good
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah.
I like that one too.
Yeah, dude, some of these feel
Why?
epic.
This
Like
gen-
that right there feels epic. It's just
Yeah.
like, dude, that's a big ass sword. What's that? What's it? Dude, what's going on here?
Generation wasn't
Also, 3 discs.
terrible. There was definitely some good stuff, but this was the beginning of a
That right there, dude,
Epic.
it made me feel. It was like, dude, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to.
Well, then when you played it and it looked almost exactly like that, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
trend in box art that's led us to where we are now. We very rarely see art like this anymore because there's no need for it. You can take an in-game model, spruce it up with extra detail and maybe a higher polygon count, and blam. Now, I don't think most box art nowadays is bad. I think most AAA games have great composition. Everything is aligned in satisfying ways. With a fair amount of them, it's easy to get what the game is going to be about. The overall art is well done, but a lot of the soul is gone. Like, you think somebody made BioShock Infinite's cover art and said, yep, I'm proud? Like I said with modern box art, the
I don't
overall
think it looks
composition is
bad.
fine.
I don't.
This is one of the worst box arts I've ever seen. Yes, a lot of this showcases stuff that does indeed represent BioShock Infinite in some manner, but it's so obvious this was done for marketing purposes. Oh, we're trying to advertise this game to men who want to shoot things. Hey, here's Booker DeWitt with a gun. Honestly, this could be the cover to like a billion other games and it would work. This doesn't represent Infinite to me at all. It literally focuses on somebody you barely see in the game because it's in first person.
Yeah, okay, I can agree with that. If they would have like shown him, like, and shown the when you first walk in, and you are first experiencing the city and the sky, that would be. I think that would be great box art. Just
Wonder why we haven't seen any negative Switch or Nintendo Wii
or Wii U.
or Wii U.
He'll probably get to those. He'll probably just be
Let me
like, all right, fine. And then he'll talk about them.
It doesn't feature any of the game's setting, just fire and sky, no other major characters featured, nothing. For a game as thematically unique as BioShock Infinite, this box art doesn't display anything that makes it unique. Now, there is a reversible cover which does a much better job representing the game. A lot of companies
That's
do
fair.
this, having an alternative cover, more often than not one that does a better job representing the game on the other side, so if you don't like the standard art conjured up by marketing folks, well, you can just flip it, here you go. My problem with this is I like all my games to be as uniform as possible, so with something like BioShock Infinite, I gotta stick to the regular art sadly to keep that cursed Xbox 360 logo on the spine. At least with the Game of the Year edition, they added Elizabeth, which I think makes it a much better representation of the actual game, considering she's the most memorable and iconic character of that game. Now, if we're staying in the year 2013, we can take a look at The Last of Us as an example of good modern box art. This shows off the dynamic between the characters of
That's
Ellie
great.
and Joel. Ellie gets top billing with Joel looking back at her, ensuring her safety. This box art tells a story and perfectly represents the final game. Of course, the higher-ups tried to cut Ellie from the box art entirely and make it just about Joel, and thankfully Naughty Dog refused. Actually, I have the original box art for The Last of Us that marketing execs wanted for the game. Oh. With BioShock Infinite being multi-platform and The Last of Us being exclusive to the PS3 at the time, BioShock Infinite did sell more than The Last of Us initially. But how much you want to bet it's because it was on multiple platforms, not because some generic guy with a gun was on the cover. The Last of Us sold 7 million units on the PS3 alone, with Infinite selling around 11 million across everything. I don't think that gap was because of the box art, it was because of console exclusivity. But
Yeah.
I'm sure the higher-ups look at those numbers and assume it was all in the box art. Companies seem to be obsessed with having marketable covers. They all seem to push the same exact template for guaranteed high sales, but I think that makes a lot of covers feel completely generic. This isn't Doom.
I don't know.
But I think that makes a lot of covers
I-
feel completely generic.
In terms of overall simplicity, what else do you need?
Yeah. And that doesn't look like it's taken straight from the game either.
No, that looks like a custom done Doomslayer.
Yeah.
I still love that.
I
This
think it's
isn't
cool.
Doom. You're trying to tell me we go from the first Doom with box art like this to this? I've seen this argument online so many times about this particular cover, but it's true. This could be any shooter with a sort of mech suit. It's terrible. We do get a reversible cover, which was the main cover of the
Now that I do agree is a much better like artwork, but I don't know. I still think that the original, like in terms of simplicity, is like what else do you need to know about Doom? It's a guy going to hell slaying monsters, and while this does a better job of representing that, I still think that the other artwork is more than fine.
the
enough.
Nintendo Switch version of the game that released later. I guess they thought,
Oh, There he goes. Finally started talking about Nintendo, and he's right. That is what their artwork was.
Those knees are gonna get tired.
People know this is a good game now. We can give the Switch the better box art. They did a similar thing with Wolfenstein 2 as well. But the generic box art complaint, the one that says this can be any game, in my opinion, is a huge problem, and it's something we primarily see here in the States. From what I've noticed, while North America can have some great box arts, they seem to be more marketing focused. Japan can get stupid artsy with them, and more times than not, Japan usually gets the better box art out of all territories. And then there's Europe. It's a complete gamble if Europe gets either the Japan art, the North American art, or just whatever the hell they conjure up over there. Box art regional differences are
okay.
fascinating. One of the more well-known ones being the Kirby series, with North America mostly pissing Kirby off. Japan usually has Kirby being Kirby, happily posing with his friends or just having a good time. I'm sure here Nintendo of America wasn't trying to make Kirby angry, but rather make him look determined, like he's on some epic quest or something.
Yeah.
That way some people will go, oh, he looks cute, and others go, oh, he looks badass. America likes things to be on a huge epic scale, I've noticed. As an example, another great modern cover, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is the perfect box art for this game. Even Link, the central character here, isn't looking at the viewer, he's looking away at the main focus of the game, its world. It's in the title, Breath of the Wild. It gives off the vibe that the world within the game is about to give you the adventure of a lifetime, which is in fact what it does. While Japan had the same art, Europe went for a different take. This doesn't feel like an epic quest, this feels like elf shit. This is still very good art, but I feel like the actual game is more well represented via the North American and Japanese versions. This one, Link isn't even looking at what awaits him, he's looking directly at you. And while you see more of the world in the European cover, the overall tone and color scheme is happy and jovial. Which isn't really what I think of with this game. The world is in ruins, you have to save it. Which I think comes across more with this one. One of the more notorious regional changes was Eco. You see, this one tells a story. This one tells me what toy I'm gonna get in my Happy Meal. You see what I meant with the PS1 early PS2 era? We got this.
Yeah.
Somebody thought this was good. Resident Evil 4 is one I'm sure I'll get flack for here. The European covers across the GameCube, PS2, and Wii are so cool looking. These are terrible in comparison, but I think they do a much better job showcasing the actual game. This is a rare case where this looks better, this would be a great poster, but I think these are better box arts for the...
Yes.
Yes. I thought he said exactly the opposite of that.
Well, I think in terms of artistic style, there's not much else. There's not much there, but you don't really need that for this. I mean, it's Leon doing his thing, and you also see, chainsaw, villagers. It definitely shows off the hostility.
Yeah.
And I think that's I like the GameCube version better than I do the PS2 version, but the Wii version shows off the village chief, and the village chief isn't in this one. That's my only gripe. The village chief was like back here, and you could like see him, and you could like make out his face menacingly, just looking menacingly at you. I think this would be an even better cover art, but all things considered.
Again, let's be honest here. Resident Evil 4, as good as it is, isn't as artsy-fartsy as this cover suggests.
Yes.
Again, this is way better, but this tells you what to expect. North American marketing with video games has always been a lot more loud, wacky, and obnoxious compared to other countries, and while that reached its peak in the 90s and has died down tremendously by now, it still seeps through with modern box art while other regions get beautiful, more simplistic images. Nier Automata's Japanese box art is absolutely gorgeous, while the North American variety looks cheaper and sort of cheesy in comparison. Some designs are so simple that they're oddly beautiful in a way. You feel a sense of pride and confidence with them, like, hey, we don't need art, our game's that good. Like so many of the early Zelda games basically just shouted, yeah, this is a Zelda game, f*** you. You don't need anything else, just a logo on a golden background.
It's like The Legend of Zelda! Link's Awakening. DX. Includes new secret dungeon. Yep.
And that says something. Final Fantasy did this in Japan with white backgrounds and either beautiful artwork on top or just the logo for the game plus the artwork corresponding with it. This is a beautiful trend if it's kept up with. It makes all these games feel that much more, well, Final Fantasy. But if you do it for just one game, it's sort of lame. I'm sorry, but the Metal Gear Solid box art doesn't feel beautiful to me. It just feels lazy and weird. No other games in the series did the white background with just a logo. so it just sort of sticks out, which blows. I love seeing sequels go for a similar style to previous games with their covers. Borderlands 2 was a fantastic evolution of the first game's art, so was Mario Galaxy 2, all the Grand Theft Autos following 3. These all feel like they belong together. But then Fallout just kept doing the same thing but with different angles. You know what kind of games have a tough time with box art? Re-releases, and definitely some collections. Like, do you just use the same art as before? Do you spruce it up? Do you do something completely different? And with collections, do you display all the games? Have multiple box arts in one box art? Ugh. Well, some were whipped together in an afternoon in Photoshop. Some had some genuine thought and time put into them. Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection nails it. It doesn't have to have marketing lingo thrown on there like this number of games included. Sonic's front and center, he grabs your attention and you see all the Genesis title screens in the background. It's obvious what this is from the get-go. You don't need any taglines, you don't even need the title. This image is enough. And then there's Dreamcast Collection. This is just a mishmash of all different kinds of things. Colors, shapes, obsolete video game consoles, text at different angles, Jesus. Re-releases usually go a little more wild with the art compared to the first release, showing off more characters and elements from the game. The first go around they were trying to sell the game to people who didn't know if it was good or not.
Someone pointed it out to me and I
elements from
can't
the
unsee
game.
it now.
The first go around they were trying to sell the game to
It's a shrimp filleting a giraffe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yes. I had someone pointed that out to me and I hate them for it because now I can't
You will
unsee
never
it.
not see that.
to
Yes.
people who didn't know if it was good or not. And now people already know it's worth, so why not do something that looks a bit cooler? Maybe throw a bit of fan service in there. But while some of these are cooler pieces of art, they do lose a lot of the iconic feel or simplicity of the original. Twilight Princess HD just throws a bunch of characters on the cover. It looks fine, but the original will always be the Twilight Princess cover.
I can
to me.
agree with that.
Yes. That right there is
So
like,
badass.
yeah, you have Midna's helmet, you have the wolf behind the logo, then you have, you know, Link, and then his other side with the wolf. It's
Yeah,
like,
and then
dude.
all the grain, like the ingrained textures and stuff like that.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it looks so good.
Not cluttered, it is laser focused on showing how this guy and this wolf are the same person. But then look at the Japanese and European cover for the HD remake. It's literally the original with more shit on it. This just looks weird to me. Hey, does anybody know how many games are included in the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy? This had a temporary
2.
box art for the longest time, and I kept praying, oh please God, give us something better for the final one, and hey, they delivered. I could go without the constant reminders of how many things are included, but this feels like the way to do a modern Crash cover. Nintendo did a lot of these temporary boxes during the Wii U generation. It always freaked me out, like I'd see an article online saying Nintendo reveals Breath of the Wild box art during E3 2016, and then I see it, and I start praying this isn't final. Thankfully, all the terrible box art changed soon enough, and hey, the Wii U generation was home to some great covers. Like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash is one of the worst things humanity has ever done, but at least they made the box art better. I always found it kinda cute whenever something would overlap the console logo on the front. Nintendo box art is never like the most artistically special thing in the world, but they almost always look really nice. You have New Super Mario Bros. U. This box art shows off exactly what the game is gonna be like, just not nearly this clean and pretty. It's like fast food photos compared to real life. They almost always know exactly what a game needs box art wise. Striking poses for characters, good title placement. Every now and then we have a misfire, but it's never, you know, that bad. They usually know which games need that old marketing flavor text. 5 games in 1, up to 4 players, idea book included. These little phrases often help showcase what makes the game stand out, and they don't take up too much room. Yeah, man, even Batman has nosebleeds from time to time. It's okay, guys. Yeah, when all this garbage covers up the artwork for literally no reason, that's pretty raw. Oh wow, Nier Automata is riveting. I wasn't gonna buy it, but now I'm sold. The worst box art is hilarious to look at. Like, what is this? That's not a duck. But it's so heartbreaking when great games just get garbage. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, look at this. And then here in North America, they said, well, we know what Castle and Knight are. Now, with my personal preference, I like something pretty and nice and satisfying to look at. I like something that represents the game well, but I also really value uniqueness with my video game covers. Sure, if a cover isn't unique, that can also be criticism directed towards the actual game for not being original enough. But here's a game that I love with box art I just don't like. One of the most disappointing covers in my opinion is Spider-Man PS4. I finally started playing this game recently. I just beat it. It's amazing, one of my favorite PS4 games. But the fact that this box is literally just Spider-Man on a red background is disappointingly bland and boring. Don't get me wrong, this looks fine, it's nice, but look at Breath of the Wild. A key part of this box art and game is the world. The same goes for this. A key part of Spider-Man PS4 is the open world New York City. The fact that none of it is displayed here really makes this art lack, in my opinion. I also don't like how it's just overwhelmingly red. It doesn't make Spider-Man pop out as much as I'd want him to. But really, my problem with it is this could be the cover to any Spider-Man game. That does say something about how definitive of a Spider-Man game this is, but it does enough of its own things that I just don't like how it's so generic. Like I said, it feels like with so many pieces of box art nowadays, while they fundamentally look nice, just follow the same template. It's always a guy walking towards you, characters at the top faded at bottom showing a bigger picture, while box art from a few console generations ago, yeah sure, this art isn't as nice looking, things can be off model, and it can be pretty corny. This feels like an artist did what they wanted to, and this feels like corporations creating the perfect marketable box art. And nobody likes to feel marketed to. I think currently in the digital age where more games you'd never believe would do well sell like crazy due to the internet helping spread word, companies are more willing to get creative, and we've seen more unique and well done covers that represent their games well. It's great to see. I just hope marketing doesn't start to take over like it did with a few key games. So now that I've proven the validity of video games as art, or at least box art as art, I feel like I can convince anybody to do anything, which is why I'm gonna start this rant against serial killers. Here's a message to all you serial killers out there. Stop!
Stop.
No.
That was funny.
Yeah. So,
Dude, I can't help but feel like this video could have been sponsored by Nintendo, dude.
it could have been. Yeah.
I love Scott, but I knew as soon as we got into this that there was going to be at least 5 minutes of Nintendo does such a good job.
Well, he's a Nintendo stan. I mean, that's one thing about Scott.
But that same argument could be made for every other company he talked about.
True, yeah, but I guess the deal is just he has a very strong connection with
I love Nintendo.
Nintendo
My
games.
first 4 consoles
were Nintendo.
were Nintendo.
According to my grandma, a PlayStation was a Nintendo.
Well, I did have a PlayStation before an N64, so technically it was in my first 5, but it was there.
Yeah. Dude, I remember I got my N64 for my birthday, like the year after it came out, and I was so excited. But my friends were all playing PS1 games. I was just like, oh man, I'm missing out on that. And then my cousin got in trouble, and my dad actually talked to my aunt and was just like, how much are you selling that PlayStation 1 for? Because he messed up so bad that she sold his PlayStation 1 and all of his games and all that shit. Like, he messed up
He
bad.
really shit the bed.
Yes. And I remember when my dad got it, it was for my birthday. He paid, I think it was like $125 for a PlayStation 1, 2 controllers, like 15 games, and like 2 memory cards. And I get them, and I'm just like, and I was like, and I just remembered I stayed up so late playing all those games and trying to figure out which ones I liked the best. And then, of course, Pizza Hut had the demo discs, which I had to...
The greatest.
Yes, I had
Nakey
to.
Jakey has a wonderful video about those. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Check those out. But the box art on a lot of games are very... I would say striking in their simplicity. Like, sometimes you don't have to have big, vibrant worlds or anything like that. Sometimes all you need is just like a character looking at you or just a logo.
Dude, the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
They had one character on the front.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's all you need.
And a color. You know how you're giving the Spider-Man cover shit, Scott? Some of the greatest games of all time. Like you gave Metal Gear Solid shit. There's so many games like that are fucking amazing and so gangbusters that are just plain ass.
Yeah.
You know. I like the Metal Gear Solid art for the game when it was originally released because it looked like a super secret, like sleek espionage mission that you had to fucking
like a dossier.
Yeah,
well,
it looked like that.
And that's how it was supposed to act because they ask you, it's just like, on the included dossier, the number for the radio is on the dossier.
Right.
And you turn it over, like, there it is right there.
Yeah, it serves a purpose of the story of the game.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I know that its simplicity on the front is like can be like it's like, oh, there's nothing here that is of merit. It's like I think that could be the point of it, because the back was the most important part of that thing, because it helped you progress in the game.
Because I mean, even look at the VR missions that had the fucking the ninja, the cyborg ninja on the front of it.
Oh yeah,
Gray Fox or whatever his name was.
Gray Fox. And then of course Metal Gear Rising with Raiden. Oh Lord, Jesus! You talk about a box art. Like, I love the box art for it. And let's see, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yeah, that
like
shit's
that
pretty
right there.
badass.
I love the artwork that they went with for it. Yeah, like right here. That's, to me, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's Raiden, red eye, cutting through a machine. It's like, dude, hell yes. Hey guys, Markiplier here, and I'm gonna be fighting Raiden, and I'm gonna be cutting his ass in half. Don't read too much into that. You can find it on my OnlyFans.
Oh my god.
I'm not surprised he has his OnlyFans now. Oh,
Nothing surprises me anymore.
no, it doesn't. So yeah, Scott the Waz talking about the art of box art, and I could see myself agreeing with him on certain things. Other things, I kind of have my own opinion on. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, guys, like, let us know about a box art, a video game box art that really just hits you, it grabs you. Let us know about that. And if y'all want to see more from Scott the Waz, feel free to click his name in the title of the video. And if you want to see more from They Call Me Hat Guy, click on his name in the title of the video. And I guess until next time, I'm Nate.
I'm Chad.
See you later, everybody.